Have you ever wondered why, as soon as you get what you want, you sabotage it? Or why you can taste how close your desire is, but you just can't seem to get it? Today, I'm going to be sharing a huge inner work activation for you, how to stretch your rubber band. Hello, my name is Alexis. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's get straight into the video. There's a concept that I teach in my courses called the rubber band theory. And if you are someone who you have been struggling with getting your dream relationship, or maybe it seems that your finances have stayed the same, you just can't go from the 5K to the 10K month, or let alone can't even get to the 5K month. What I guarantee you is that your rubber band, which we're going to talk about in this video, it has stretched and you just need some inner work to move it out here and to make this feel comfortable. Then what you want will come. So anything that you feel you are sabotaging, it is because there is a snap that is going on, and I'm going to teach you how to prevent that and how to stretch so that you can hold anything that you desire. So in psychology class in college, there was a concept that we were taught that I will never forget, because that is where this concept, the rubber band theory, that is where it started to become planted as this seed. So my professor was telling us about this law called Parkinson's law, and maybe you've heard of it. The formal definition of Parkinson's law is work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. What he discovered blew my mind, because it's not how great we are, it's not how much talent we have, it's not even our speed or ability to complete a task or to move us closer to the desire. It's the actual time boundary itself that determines when we meet it. So when I heard this, I thought, okay, this must mean that time is bendable. This must mean that it's not the abilities that we have to do something, but rather how quick we can stretch. So I have this graphic that's going to show you what Parkinson's law represents. This I just got from Google, but I drew it out for you. So here it says the same amount of work, and then here is a time allocation. So we have 2 hours, 4 hours, and 1 day. When we are given 1 day to complete a task, we will allocate all of our time and energy and resources all across a 24-hour span. Versus if we were given only 2 hours, we would get things done. So an example of this, if a professor told their students, you have 1 full semester, you have 4 to 5 months to write a 3-page essay, how long do you think it would take the students to do that essay? It would take them 4 to 5 months, majority. The only difference is the ones who can complete it very quick, it is because they give themselves a time boundary, because they have some subconscious programming that makes them want to perform faster, which we'll also get into. However, if that professor gave the same assignment, the 3-page essay, and said, you have 24 hours to complete this and get it on my desk, do you think the students would be able to do it? Yes. So how is it that something that would take 4 to 5 months can also take 24 hours? It is because our body will speed up our activity and move us closer to that goal when the time moves closer to us. I just get so excited talking about all of this. So in psychology, we learned about Parkinson's law, and it always was planted as a seed for me. Then about maybe 3-4 years ago, I'm reading a book, and the author mentions how our mind is like a rubber band. And in that moment, that is where I got the term rubber band theory, because I saw it. Our mind is a rubber band. Everything that I'm holding right now is because I've stretched to allow myself to hold it. And anything that I've sabotaged, it is because my mind is like a rubber band. It has snapped. Think about your hair tie. When you first get a hair tie, it's brand new, it's very, very tight. My girls with curly hair, I know you know how to stretch your rubber band, because you have to hold your curly hair, you have to go like this and stretch it out for a few minutes. That is exactly how your mind works. You have to stretch it out. And how do you stretch it out? Inner work. This is why I love being an inner work coach. So let's get into the inner work on how to do this. So here's my definition of the rubber band theory. If you're not in my courses, you've probably heard me mention this on YouTube. I really wanted to make a full video about this so that You can understand when I'm saying it's a rubber band issue. So the rubber band theory, your mind is like a rubber band and it stretches or snaps depending on your beliefs. So your rubber band, number one, know that it can be stretched. Nobody is an exception to this rule. I've talked to people, no, this is all that I can hold, I can't do more. Yes, you can. You just have to allow your nervous system to be trained to hold it. That is what I'm going to teach you how to teach yourself. Number two, you have different rubber bands for different areas of your life. However, there are exceptions to this rule. One of them, we might think that our rubber band for how much money we can hold is completely different than our love life. They're connected. I have a video on YouTube where I taught about how men and money are connected. If you search awwlexis, men and money, the video will come up. Because what I discovered after being a coach for about 2 years is all of my clients, whenever they had an issue in their romance life, they always had an issue in their financial life. And the issues they would compare, they would be the same issue. For example, a woman who was getting bare minimum treatment for a man or from a man, and she just couldn't attract the providers, the healthy masculine men. When I looked at her financial situation, she was capped. She couldn't go past a certain income and she was also struggling financially. So I started to see, okay, men and money are related. Okay, the key is the relationship with masculine energy. So anyways, I have a whole other video on that, but look at the areas where you can receive very, very easily, and then look at the areas in your life where you can't. Maybe you feel that there's a block. I want you to have that in your mind going into this video because you will start to see why it's blocked when I give you the inner work, and you will start stretching it in this moment, walking away from this video. So know that you have different rubber bands for different areas. For example, your rubber band for how healthy and sexy and beautiful you can feel in your body, that might be completely different than how much you can speak your boundaries and how much you can stand up to other people. So maybe you feel, I don't feel like a queen in this area setting boundaries, but when it comes to my own self-discipline, I'm very, very good at it. And then lastly, there's 2 ways to stretch. So the first is through the inner work that I'm going to share in this next step. The second way is through using quantum physics, which I love. I have a video called Quantum Physics Meets Feminine Energy, where I give you a little intro to some quantum physics. I also have a whole course on it. It's the Gold Vault course. All right, so let's move into the inner work, snapping. So what happens when you stretch a rubber band too wide? It snaps and it breaks. Anytime your rubber band has broken, it is because you have self-sabotaged. Why do we self-sabotage? Because your brain loves to keep you safe. From the minute you are born, your brain is constantly firing and wiring these neural pathways that create your blueprint for life. So for example, if you grow up with parents who are always in scarcity with money, if you go to the grocery store and they pick up a bag of chips and say, oh no, that's too much, get the generic brand. Or maybe you ask them, hey, can we go to McDonald's? No, we have food at home. McDonald's costs money. Every time your parents were speaking their beliefs over money, your brain was firing these pathways in your mind to teach you your own beliefs about money. And so if you grew up with parents who were in scarcity, majority of us I think did, I definitely did, what your brain believes is that if I were to have a lot of money, it would not be safe. And why would it not be safe? It wouldn't be safe because your brain does not like anything that's not familiar. Having a lot of money was not familiar to you growing up. So if you were to win the lottery, you would not feel safe having all that money because those neural pathways that were built and strong, they're telling you, alert, alert, this is not familiar to us. We need to get rid of this. We need to snap. We need to sabotage so that we can leak out all of this abundance. The further your rubber band can stretch, the more abundance you can hold. What I thought was so fascinating, when I started really diving into my own money inner work, I was reading this book that talked about the curse of the lottery winner. This blew my mind. If you don't know about this, this will literally change your life. So I was reading this book and he mentioned that I believe it was 1/3 of lottery winners end up going broke within the first 5 years of winning the lottery. It was either 1/3 or 50%. And I thought, how? You win $50 million. How do you sabotage that all? How do you not know to invest in and to be smart with money? But researchers would see this pattern again and again with lottery winners. So what was going on? Their rubber band snapped because they could not hold all of the abundance. For them, the money, you would think it would make them feel safe, but it didn't. And so what went on in their brain is they had to get rid of the money as fast as possible. That is why you see even a lot of athletes, they spend their whole life training, but they're not training their mind always. So when they make a lot of money, they will spend it on women and luxury items, private jets, all this stuff. And then when they're retired, they're struggling for money. And a lot of them go back into the workforce and they're working minimum wage jobs. And people go, how does this happen? But we can't judge because we do the same things, we just cannot see it in the moment. So why people especially struggle to hold money is because the brain is trying to keep you safe, but it's actually keeping you stuck. So right now, if you have your journal, I want you to pull it out and I want you to write out the area that I told you to pick and to see where is your rubber band needing to be stretched. What did you hear growing up? What did your environment teach you? Write out all of those beliefs. It can also look like maybe if your parents got divorced, maybe the only love that you can hold is limited. Maybe it's good in the beginning and then it always ends in heartbreak. Maybe that's your set point. All right, so the brain looks for neural pathways for guidance. Your neural pathways come from your experiences, which shape your beliefs. And your brain will not willingly sacrifice your safety. Keyword willingly. Because as soon as you can step back and see what's happening and you can apply the inner work, that is when you can say, okay, brain, thank you for keeping me safe, but I'm going to expand here. So some examples of this. The one that it took me a long time to figure this out, but when I saw it, it's like, oh, okay. So as soon as some of my students would join the programs, in my programs, they're $1,000 plus. As soon as they would join a program, especially the Levels Ahead bundle, that one is multiple thousands of dollars. It includes all my programs. I would see the same pattern. They would join and not start for a month, sometimes 2 months later. And I would think, what's going on? Because they just emailed me, Alexis, I'm so excited, I joined your program, I can't wait to get started. But then they don't start. What was happening is that they massively stretched their rubber band by investing that much money in themselves, that much money in their inner work, that their rubber band stretched so much and their body felt a little bit of resistance, a little bit of panic. Usually this will come across as procrastination, and they stayed here, which for most of them was so good because it normalized this being their stretch rather than right here. So after you go, okay, I'm worthy of spending $5,000 on changing my life and on investing in my income, investing in my marriage, investing in my future. Once you stretch that way, your brain has to hold that pose. You have to hold that in your nervous system and say, okay, this is safe, this is my norm. Then they start the inner work. As soon as you decide I am worthy of investing this much into myself, you have just been activated. Then the next activations, everything inside the programs are going to stretch you more and more and more. Another example of this is as soon as a woman meets her dream man, I think this is the most common one that I see, the healthy masculine man, the one that she has written on her list, matches all the qualities. As soon as she meets him, he's boring, or something's just not right. I don't think he's the one. Or they will accidentally sabotage it, do something such as start chasing him when he's been spoiling her and pouring into her. I see this one a lot. As soon as a man shows a woman treatment that she's not used to, she will feel like she owes him something because it feels uncomfortable, and she starts energetically chasing him. Masculine energy does not like that. They like being the ones investing in you. And so it turns them off and it shifts the polarity of the relationship. This is another common way people sabotage. Another one, maybe you've been saying, I really want to expand my network, or I really want to learn how to make good quality friends. But as soon as someone plans a social event and invites you to hang out, you feel anxious or you feel tired, or all of a sudden, I hope they cancel a night watching Netflix, it just feels so much better. Would that really feel better, or would that feel safe? And deep down, there's always this little flame of excitement that's saying, we want the stretch. But again, those neural pathways will pave the way for you because that's what it recognizes. This is why as soon as you force yourself to get ready and you go to the event that you didn't want to go to, you always feel better afterwards. It is because you've allowed that flame to grow into a fire and now you've stretched, and that actually feels good. That's why too, there's a drop off in mental health and happiness after college and after high school because people stop learning. As soon as your brain is no longer introduced to novelty and it stays the same, it begins to shrink. And when your brain shrinks, so does your happiness. I talk about this in Master Your Feminine Energy. You have to invest in novelty. That is why inner work, every time you listen to a podcast, an audiobook, a YouTube video, you invest in your inner work. You are growing your brain, you're challenging your beliefs, your brain actually loves that. Another example. Okay, this example is huge for me because this is when it really, really started to sink in. Okay, so I had gone on a trip, and this was a really long trip. It was honestly a little bit stressful, and my weight dropped so much. When I got back to my home, I went to go and do a colon hydrotherapy session, which is when you get warm water flushed in your colon and it cleans you out. Every time I do one of those sessions, the nurse will weigh me before and after, and she'll say, you had this much backed up in your colon. So sorry if this is gross, but it's important for the story, I promise. So she always tells me you had this much before, this much after. And anyways, when she weighed me, she said, you lost a lot of weight. I think I lost 7 pounds, which is a lot for my body. When I lost these 7 pounds, I could feel it. I knew I was in such a survival mode at this time. It didn't feel like myself. And so when she told me, you lost 7 pounds, do you know what happened those next 2 weeks? 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, I think it was 10 days later, those 7 pounds, I had gained it back. I was overeating. I didn't do it in a healthy way. I was overeating. I was being lazy. I wasn't going to the gym. And I just wasn't taking care of my body because I had a set point of a certain weight. And as soon as she told me that I was off of that set point, my brain automatically goes, alert, alert. This is not our norm. This is not what we recognize as familiar. Let's get back to the familiar zone. Within 10 days, I could gain the weight back. So why I'm sharing this story is because as soon as your eyes can see this is not our set point, it will start to sabotage to get you back to it. Now, why I bring this up is because you can change your set point, and that is how you stretch your rubber band. But you have to do it a very specific way. Okay, so how to stretch. You have to increase what I call your upper limit slowly. So I believe I was talking about this in either the Gold Vault or Divine and Aligned. And I was telling the girls how something so mind-blowing happened right before starting my business. I noticed that I had in my bank account $5,000 was my savings. Always, always. Every month I always had at least $5,000 in there. And what I would do, and I didn't even know I was doing it until I really became conscious of my inner work. When I would notice the $5,000 in my account, if I went above $5,000 in my savings, I would get rid of the money. I would do the weirdest things. I would move it to my checking account. I would look for credit cards to pay off. I would pay a little bit to my student loan. I would eat out more. I would shop more. I was sabotaging because $5,500 was outside my rubber band. I should actually make it here. If $5,000 was my set point, anything that went into 5,000 that made it more, my rubber band snapped because I could not hold that abundance. And how it snapped is I would move the money to other accounts. This is where I learned I'm choosing $5,000. That means I can choose $50,000. And it wasn't overnight, but it did happen. And that number kept moving up and up. And what's fascinating about inner work is you don't realize how big of shifts you make until you start talking with other people. And I remember telling my sister, we were talking about our savings account, and she asked, what is your normal savings account? And I told her my number. She goes, and to me, I thought, this is low. I want to make it even higher. And I think 4 or 5 years ago, I would have seen that number and I would have thought that would never be possible. How it became possible is because I stretched it slowly by increasing my upper limit. And so what you're going to do to stretch your rubber band is you're going to increase not by 50%, not by 20%, not even by 10%. Anywhere from 2 to 5%, you increase your maximum set point. So with this example, with the $5,000, I really wish I was better at math. That's not my specialty. But I believe it would be, if I increase it by, let's say 2%, maybe $5,250 would be my new maximum. So if $5,250 is my new maximum, what I've just done is created a new set point. I've said, okay, I'm going to increase by 2%. So the steps to stretch your rubber band: number 1, determine what your current maximum, your current upper limit is. That would be $5,000. Number 2, decide how much you want to stretch by. 2%, okay, $5,250. Number 3, make that your new norm. So what that looked like is when I would open up my Chase bank account and I would see $5,000 in my account, I would say, oh no, this is not good. I'm below what is my norm. I would trick my mind into sending alert signals to say something's not right because I'm below how much I should have. This is not enough. Your brain does not know the difference between reality and imagination. And so if I imagine that $5,250 is my minimum and I should have at least that or more, when I see $5,100 is in there, I'm tricking my mind to say, this is not good. I'm broke right now. I'm struggling right now. Something's going on. And when you trick your mind to have that new belief that 5,250 is your upper limit, and by upper limit, I'm not saying maximum, I'm saying that's how much you can hold before you sabotage. So when 5,250 is my new upper limit, what my brain starts believing and creating neural pathways to match is that if you have less than this, something is not right. So what can we make right in our environment to match this new belief? And suddenly, what will start to happen is new job opportunities come. For my business owner girls, you will always see this. New creative ideas will come to you. New product ideas. By the way, my girls, if you are a content creator and you do not have any sort of passive income, you need to set up your passive income. That's probably a block in your rubber band right now, stopping you from jumping your next income level, whether it's an ebook, whether it's a course. I teach you how to do this in the Glow Print for all my girls who want to be coaches. You need to have something that's creative, that's creating you passive income, because when you are a business owner, you have such a cheat code to stretch your income rubber band. Because your passive income sources, they will bring in so much income that you never expected, and it's going to stretch your rubber band and it's going to fuel your creativity. So anyways, what I was saying is that you will get more ideas and more job opportunities will come. That is why as soon as a woman starts doing inner work, it seems like her environment changes. It seems like her relationships change. People start treating her better. People start speaking to her differently. Why? Because her beliefs has said nothing less than this. She's increased her baseline. She's increased that upper limit. So again, those steps: know what your upper limit, what your maximum is, increase by 2 to 5%, and make that norm. It might sound silly how you talk to yourself, but really this is what I do. I say, this is normal for me to have this amount. Or, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I'm broke right now. This is crazy. What am I doing? I make that my belief. And it's going to feel uncomfortable in the beginning, but when you do that again and again and again, your brain truly starts to believe it. That is why affirmations are so powerful. Because as you're repeating it and you're feeling it, your brain will start to go, oh, this is real. One of my favorite money affirmations, I give this to my girls in the Gold Vault, is money comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources, including these will help your belief system become stronger, help you stretch that rubber band. As soon as you start consciously doing this inner work and realizing this is my maximum, this is how much I want to stretch, this is the desired outcome that I want to be able to hold, you might start noticing this pattern. And this looks from the outside like it's bad, but I promise you it's very, very good. So you will stretch and then immediately sabotage, and it's almost immediate. And what is going on? Maybe you feel like, Alexis, I'm taking one step forward, but then I'm taking 2 steps back. However, remember that hair tie that I was telling you about in the beginning. Once you stretch a hair tie, does it go back to being its original tight self? Sadly not, only for the hair tie's sake. Because I have to order hair ties again, brand new ones again and again and again, because they always stretch and I need it to be its original size. And so as soon as you stretch your rubber band, you cannot go back to the original. The only exceptions is if you were to have some sort of head trauma and your body actually forgets your memories and experiences. That's the only exception. Be so proud of yourself when you stretch, when you put yourself in new environments, and when you allow yourself to have a rubber band that is outside your familiar, because you cannot go back to the original. Once you stretch, you might feel, this is too much, because maybe I just had a coaching session with my client before filming this video, and she had shared with me that she had created the content that she was really, really wanting to create, but was always so nervous to do. And immediately after creating it, immediately after feeling all these feelings of pleasure and excitement, there was a moment of sabotage. And I told her, I said, this is a rubber band snap. So then we went back, pinpointed the exact moment, the exact trigger, and we worked through that. And now she's going to be able to stretch again and again and again. What will happen after you snap is this is where you being conscious is going to make the difference between you keeping your rubber band snapped and just staying the same, or being able to stretch more and more and more. Is you have to go, okay, this snapped, so let me do it again. Let me do it again and again and again until it feels familiar. So for example, let's say that right now you struggle to invite masculine energy to feel safe with you and to approach you. So right now, maybe you can't even make eye contact with a man. And let's say maybe you do and it attracts the wrong man, or maybe you do and then afterwards you go home and you're very irritated with your pet, or you're very short with people, you're impatient in traffic. Immediately the sabotage, where you start acting not like your best self, that is because your nervous system is on high alert. It's going, whoa, this is strange, this is familiar, what we just did, so we need to sabotage somehow. What I want you to do is see that that's happening and say, okay, body, you want to keep us here? We're just going to put you back and stretch again. You make eye contact with the man again, and maybe you're in the grocery store, you hold it a little bit longer this time. Maybe you smile next time. It's not going to feel comfortable. Your inner work should not feel comfortable. If it feels comfortable, you and I need to work together. Okay, I will push you. Your inner work should not feel comfortable. If it is comfortable, you are going to stay right here. And so do things that are outside of your comfort zone that are stretching you. So maybe when a man approaches you, you're going, okay, this is crazy. You're doing the eye gazing and he comes over now. Now I want you to just sit with that experience once you get back to your car and just process it and say, holding eye contact with him, it was fun, it was exciting, this is my new norm, this is the woman that I get to be. I get to be in my power and I get to play with these romantic, flirtatious feelings. You do that again and again until it becomes your norm, and what you will notice is that there's no more sabotage, there's no more snapping. Your brain just had to get over that speed bump where you kept sabotaging. One day you're going to wake up and realize, wait a second, I'm stretched here and I'm actually asking myself to do more. I'm ready to go that next level. That's why I never will push a woman to end a relationship that she's not ready. I will give my advice, of course, but a lot of people would say, I used to talk about this on YouTube, I'm not going to tell a woman, you need to leave that toxic relationship. If it's hurting her, yes, of course, but she needs to stretch her rubber band and say, I'm worth more than this. If I'm telling her that, It's not going to absorb into her own rubber band. That is why you have to do the inner work. That is why sometimes you trying to change your partner or your friends, it doesn't work. They have to be the ones to stretch themselves. You showing up can stretch them. I see this happen with a lot of my couples. When the woman joins one of my programs, she stretches. She's worried because he's not doing inner work, but her activations, her embodiment of her inner work stretches him. And so anyways, I wanted to bring that point up about why you sabotage after stretching. If you are consciously stretching, you don't need to worry about the sabotage. Just take it as when you're an athlete and you fall down and you get injured, that's just part of the training. But then one day you won't fall down anymore. And you'll realize, okay, I feel like I'm a professional at this. Now let's go to the next league. Now let's go to the next championship or the next level. So if you are struggling, let's say that you're struggling to lose weight, what you would do is maybe you are 150 pounds and you feel your best at 140 pounds. If you try to go from 150 to 140 pounds in 1 week or 3 weeks, sometimes even 1 month, I think 1 month is way too soon. If you try to change your norm quickly, you are most likely going to snap. That is why I'm giving you this inner work so that you can do it. It's almost like that story of the tortoise and the hare, how the hare runs the race, sprints towards the finish line. It might seem like they're winning in the beginning, but they accidentally sabotage later by taking a nap, thinking they had all the time in the world. Meanwhile, the tortoise crosses the finish line and the rabbit goes, how did this happen? You're a tortoise and I'm a rabbit. That is what will happen when you try to move too fast. The only exception is quantum physics, which we'll talk about because there's a very specific way to do it. But increasing slowly over time is going to get you ahead. It's almost like the compound effect. Darren Hardy has a wonderful book called The Compound Effect. And it's where when you change small things every day, it compounds, and over a year you look back and say, how did this happen? He gave an example in that book. He said if you wanted to lose weight and you reduced your calories by, I think he said like $300 a day, or $300 calories a day, which is nothing. That's just removing like maybe one snack or less olive oil when you cook, whatever. If you were to do that, and he gives the example in the book, he says, by the end of the year, you will have lost this amount of weight. And it was a huge amount. It was like 75 to 100 pounds, something like that. Most people are not willing to put in that work. And why they sabotage themselves is because they'd rather stay safe. So the long-term game that is going to be so powerful for you, don't be afraid of it taking time, because it might seem like it's taking time in the beginning, but you're going to be able to speed this up over time. And here's something else that's so fascinating. When you are able to change your upper limit and you go from 150 pounds to 149 pounds, then to 147, you can do it quicker and quicker and quicker because your nervous system knows how to hold new beliefs quickly. It knows how to take a belief, download it, and absorb it into your whole way of being. So it gets so exciting doing inner work. This is why for even my income, it was so hard for me to go from $0 to $10,000 months. It was so hard to get there. I thought, how do people do this? It's so hard just to make $2,000, $3,000. But it was so much easier to go from $10,000 to $100,000 months. And when I say this, people look at me like I'm crazy. This is why I only talk about this with my students or close circle, because they get it, because they've also stretched their rubber band and they say, no, I know that's true, because when you learn that you can shift what you are able to hold, you know how to do it at higher levels. So you have to practice at the small things. Play around with your weight if that feels good for you, or make small income jumps, even things in your relationship. If you feel maybe right now, men are great in relationships. They can provide for you emotionally, but maybe they're not providing for you physically or financially. Maybe you decide, okay, my new set point is I'm only available for men who will send cars or pick me up on dates. No more meeting men at places. Your body will naturally know how to carry the energy of a woman that is sent a car or is picked up for dates. So play with these areas of your life, how far you can stretch your rubber band. And again, remember these 3 steps and how you're going to increase 2 to 5%, make that your norm, and repeat again and again. Moving to the next part. Oh, also one more thing, you no longer accept the previous set point. That has to be so unfamiliar to you. You have to almost become disgusted. Like, for example, let's take the savings account example. $5,000, what am I doing? Like, no, I don't like this. Even behavior with men, this is so easy to do. Things that you no longer want to accept because it's so small compared to how much abundance you can hold, you get disgusted by it. And then a man that's maybe on a date, I'm trying to think of an example of this. I'm trying to go back to like my 19, 20, 20-year-old self, because what I accepted then is very, very different now. Let's say back then, I would have accepted a man going a day or two without texting me after a date. Now, no, absolutely not. This version of me now would never accept that. And because my energy around that has changed, I don't even have to tell a man, text me after a date. That wouldn't be something I would do. They would just do it. And so you can play around with this in your dating life, in your relationships. It's really fun to play around with. Anywhere where you feel safe. This is a very important thing to know. Anywhere where you feel safe is going to be more challenging to stretch. This is why you want to be in what I would call high-risk environments, places that are unfamiliar with you. I always tell my students this, the grocery store that's outside your neighborhood that you've never been to before, that's going to become your best friend. Because when you go into this grocery store, you can be any identity that you want. You can be the fierce, feminine, polarizing queen. Or you can be the really soft, the really nurturing, the really motherly energy. You can pick any identity you want. And why I say a grocery store is because it's practical and it's very easy. You go in there, you shop for your groceries, but you carry a new rubber band stretch of the woman that you want to be. Maybe it's someone who is open and inviting to masculine energy. And so you physically open your body more, you slow down, you allow yourself to make eye contact with men. That's going to be stretching your rubber band because maybe it feels unfamiliar to you, but when you're in a new environment, you don't have your familiar circumstance and your surroundings telling you, no, you have to show up in your familiar identity. That is why traveling is so great and why it changes you so much, is because when you go to a country you're not familiar with, you have to be a new identity, and you can be any identity that you want. So playing the role, putting on the alter ego of the woman that you want to be, that is going to stretch your rubber band, because it's almost like you're putting on this mask and maybe this costume, and maybe it feels unfamiliar to you, but you can play the role. That's what's so fun about inner work. It involves that play. It's easy and it's fun. The hardest part is always just deciding. The hardest part is in here. It's not even in the physical. All right, what else did I want to say? Okay, so how to stretch. It was the steps that I gave you. There's two more. Your environment will stretch your rubber band so much. You have to be so careful about the environment that you are in. It is the people that you are hanging out with. Now, I have to say this because of the world we're living in, the content that you absorb, and also the location that you live. I'm going to give you an example of this. In Dubai, I moved here last March. It's now August 2025. When I came here, it was beautiful. It was great. Then summer hit, June through, let's say, September. Everybody, not everybody, but majority of people left Dubai. It was empty. All of my friends traveling, everyone that I knew back in their home country, I thought, this is kind of depressing. Where is everyone? Even right now, it's August and it's very, very much like that. And I thought, what is going on? And I quickly learned that people here in Dubai, they live here in the fall, the winter, the spring. Some people live here in the summer, but everyone travels and they have a second home. A lot of people have a second home in the summer. They go to Europe, they're hanging out in France, they're going to the US, they're going everywhere. And it stretched my rubber band so much because I would talk to people and say, but I just paid for my whole year for my apartment and now I don't know, should I travel, should I leave? And they would say, why not have 2 apartments? And it blew my mind the way that people think. I'm always talking so highly of the entrepreneur energy in Dubai because people think so big. People here think making $30,000 a month is struggling. They're like, oh, let's see some improvements for the business. That's how the mind of people operate here. So it stretched me so much to think having one home is the bare minimum. Years ago, if you would have asked me that, I would think, and still now, I'm so grateful to have my own home. Now, my set point is having one home is good, but being able to have multiple homes, maybe one near my family, one in my dream country that I love to visit, that's actually where I want to be. So your environment shapes your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your experience in reality. It is so important. That is why for every course that I make, I have private communities for them, because I want the women to have this safe space where they can share what's going on in their journey. They can say things like, hey ladies, I'm thinking of increasing my price, but I'm nervous, and other women will come and hold her accountable and say, of course, you need to do this. Look at the value that you are bringing here. You need people that will see your rubber band and help you stretch it even more. You need people who are posting and sharing the normal parts of their life. In the Gold Vault, I love this. Girls are sharing, hey ladies, shopping at Tiffany's today, shopping for a new car. They post pictures of them. And I love that energy because it's making it normal. It's stretching the rubber band just by looking at the photo and reading the posts. So everything that you absorb, you have to be so intentional. I'm very, very careful with the people that I hang out with the content that I absorb, because I have a responsibility for you ladies, for this community, to be a coach that empowers you. If I'm in disempowering conversations with people I don't align with, gossip, I'm drained, people that are dumping emotions, it's not going to work for me. I'm very, very careful with my time. And you need to be too. You have to be so particular about even what you hear, what you see on Netflix. So that's number 2, your environment. This is when what you see and what you hear creates your neural pathways. Number 3, of course, my favorite, quantum physics. So the one exception to being able to stretch without snapping is using quantum physics. A good place to begin would be either the Gold Vault course that I have. The entire course, it's known as my money course, how to make more money, how to normalize income growth, how to feel safe receiving money, and how to remove the money blocks you have. There's a lot of money blocks that I help women break open in that program. In the beginning of the course, you are going to feel a slight stretch like this. Then after lesson 1, you are going to stretch like this. And it's designed that way on purpose to make it so beautifully uncomfortable, and you're going to be able to hold it. When you invest in a course, that investment, that income investment, that is an activation for your rubber band to say, okay, now we can hold more abundance. That's what's so beautiful, the exchange. When you exchange your money, you receive something back in return. Your brain makes space to be able to hold that. That is why if you are a coach, you need to price your products, your coaching offers, you need to price them at a price that's actually expansive. Otherwise, if someone is giving something to you that doesn't stretch you, it's not going to stretch them. I had shared this a while ago how I wanted to work with this coach one time, but the price that I saw was way below the amount that I wanted to stretch. And so anyways, you will feel this in the course. That is normal, that is good. Even watching the YouTube videos, I guarantee you felt this. I want you to hold it and say, this is my new norm. It's so helpful when you have a community of women doing it with you, when you have someone that is teaching you step by step by step, and everything is connected and becoming familiar for your brain. And so quantum physics, it will allow you to stretch quickly without snapping. Something else that I wanted to say on this is when you are able to stretch quicker, what is happening is you are not always changing. You are moving from one distance to another in a shorter amount of time. So a lot of people think if I want to be able to offer this in my coaching program, I need to have this qualification, this degree. It's always your rubber band trying to not snap, because the abundance that would come with what you want to create might be outside of your current level. And so you don't need to change yourself. You don't need to do anything different. You need to have a shift where you've decided I can hold more abundance and I can give more abundance, because whatever you are holding in your own rubber band, naturally you're going to give out to other people. That's why a lot of you might feel that when you've started doing inner work, people say, it feels so good to be around you, or I just love your energy. You are literally feeding people your energy. And so that's why also when in your dating life, that's why I'm so passionate about making such high requirements for men for how they need to honor you, how they need to serve you and protect you. Because you have so much abundance with just your feminine energy that you might not even be able to see. If you were to just give that to a man without him having to earn it, he is going to sabotage because it's too much abundance for his rubber band. You've got to stretch him. Every time you set a new standard, every time you require him to work for you and to earn you, you are stretching him. So the rubber band theory applies to so many areas of your life. Never be scared to stretch because someone else has a small capacity. Never keep yourself here in order to fit someone else's rubber band. Otherwise, you will be shape-shifting and you will be shrinking yourself to fit this person's rubber band, this family member's rubber band, this friend's rubber band. No. How about you stretch, and the people that can match you, great. You can give them more time and energy. The people that cannot, great for them, because they get to stretch their own just by being in your presence, just by being in your energy. So remember that there is a formula to doing this. It's know your current upper limit, stretch it by 2 to 5%, normalize it. Put yourself in environments where the rubber band that you want to hold, that is your norm. Even your friend groups, the conversations that my girlfriends and I were having at brunch the other day about dating and relationships. If you guys could see these conversations, they have stretched my rubber band so much with what I require from masculine energy now, and I already thought I required so much. So it's so important to be around people who have strong and wide rubber bands and will help you stretch your own. You guys can help each other stretch. So I hope that you ladies loved this video. Thank you always for sharing your time and your energy with me. If you liked this video, the Gold Vault would be the best program for you to start with. If you want to go more into the quantum physics, stretching quickly, moving fast distances, the more advanced the quantum physics inner work is going to be inside that program. I hope that you loved this. I hope that it helps you. Let me know the stretches that you are seeing and experiencing. I really love your messages and all of the growth and inner work shifts that you're having. I love you ladies so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.